Well, we have to say, hooray, Kimmay.
Hooray! So glad to be here. I literally do say hooray. I promise that's something I actually say. And also, so I say it so often, and I'm so known as Hooray Kimmay that people think my first name is Hooray and my last name is Kimmay. My first name is actually Kimmay. Hooray Kimmay is just what I go by in my brand. Just to be clear.
So for people don't know why we're even saying hooray, tell us a bit about your story.
Amazing. So first of all, I have a company called Hurray Media, and then my public brand is Hurray Kimmay. And really, I focus mostly on helping people say hooray inside, outside, and underneath. So that inside part is our beliefs. The outside part might be your business or just like how you work out into the world. And then the underneath part is your body. And bras and undergarments are my favorite tool to help somebody really tap into their self-worth because bras are worn right over the heart. This is such a rich area to deal with the three things that most people have going on here, which is confusion, like what size do I even wear? Discomfort, it's falling down, it's digging in, or shame. Like shame is really a big thing that just blocks off this part of the body. They're too big, they're not big enough. I'm too much, I'm not enough. It all is connected. So this is my favorite place to start. And I started the name Hooray Kame came from just me being in college. And at the time, blogs were really cool. And I remember most blogs that I had been introduced to were quite gossipy and a little bit negative, or they were just only focused on fashion. And I really wanted to highlight wonderful things in the world and good stuff. And everybody was calling me Kimmay anyway. That was my nickname. And then Hooray, and I spelled it Hurray because I was a theater major. And that's how they spelled it in Shakespeare. It was like hurrah, hooray with the U. And it just stuck. And now I never ever thought I was going to build a whole global brand from this. But now, gosh, years later, I've been in business for 10 years, but I started that brand years before. So almost like 20 years now, that has grown into a global company that is reaching around the world.
Yeah, I love that story, particularly the part about the heart, because I think that is so true.
Yeah,
Not just for wearing bras, but for how we live our lives every day.
100%. I definitely want more people in the world with their shoulders back and their heart out, making heart-led decisions. And that one little action at the beginning and end of a day, most of the people that I work with wear a bra daily. And so if you can turn that one habit into a really beautiful ritual and you have the right tools to do so, things that fit well and feel really great. And also maybe you say something kind to yourself every time, you can habit stack with a kindness or an affirmation or some kind of motivation. That 1% change in your day, in your life, will completely change the trajectory of your life. Like it's such a small, repetitive thing that makes a really big difference.
Okay, and you're talking at the conference about your numbers. So,
Yes.
so give us an overview of the topic.
Okay, so this is something that has been on my heart for years and years and years. And actually, way back in the day, I want to say it was like 2015, I started a campaign called More Than My Numbers. And the reason for this was for several reasons. One, because every single time I wrapped a measuring tape around somebody in the fitting room, they would have the same reaction, which was like, and they'd want to be smaller and they'd want to be thinner. And they were so afraid of what number was going to come back, how I was going to diagnose them. And it's because we were just putting so much pressure on numbers to define us. And that number and that letter, especially in bra sizes, suddenly meant something about someone. And I realized that we did that with a lot of numbers. I did that with weight for years. I'm going to share my story about this, how that really impacted me. And that's a common one, I think, for a lot of people, and especially for women. And then also our paycheck, the number of partners that we've had, the number of kids we do or do not have. That's something I'm dealing with right now. Oh my gosh. Right. Like there's so much about these numbers that if we literally just put them up next to us and we just looked at the numbers alone, there's no measuring your worth and who you are. They're just numbers. But also at the same time, completely ignoring them isn't always helpful either, especially when it comes to health things, especially when it comes to your business numbers, right? If you just completely ignored numbers and suddenly you're like, oh, I'm out of money, not great. So I started learning how to use numbers as information and not a definition of our self-worth. So it becomes both a practical tool, but really this is a self-worth workshop. That's what we're doing here. And so I started this campaign years and years ago. It went global. Every now and then it just keeps coming back as something that needs to be talked about. And I'm so happy to steward this conversation. It's really like a beautiful conversation about how can we look at numbers as that information and not a definition of our worth.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to the talk because it's really, as you say, it's really important and something that we're not aware because we can limit ourselves. We can have an upper limit problem, can't we? We can reach a certain number and then put a block on that we don't deserve anymore, and we just stop. Yeah,
Totally. Yes. And or we can look at a certain number to say like, well, I have to reach that in order for me to be good enough, or I have to reach that in order for me to be valuable or beautiful or
we'll be
successful
happy.
or
Yeah,
womanly enough or whatever.
yeah,
And there's certain things about you that will never change, even if numbers change. If you're our weight is going to change throughout our life. Our bust size is going to change throughout our life, right? Like those are things that like if we started claiming our value, excuse me, on those numbers, then that means when it's good, we're good. And when it's bad, then we're bad. And I'm just like, oof, there's certain things about you that are like literally never going to change. And your worth is one of them for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What does the phrase "make it happen by being you" mean to you?
So I love this phrase so much. I know we talked about like being yourself is one of my core values. I think authenticity and being who I am has actually led to my success. And oftentimes when I explain what I do and how I started as a bra fitter and then worked my way into being like this marketing and media company that solely focuses on education around bras and undergarments. And then I go on television and talk about this. And then I travel the world and speak at conferences about this for the industry. And then I do these beautiful no airbrushing photo shoots where I wear and share brands and then inspire people to like go wear something that feels amazing on them and to like let go of the numbers. I made this up. Like I literally made up this whole job. An undergarment educator did not really exist before I came around. And so while there's elements of that happening, I decided to make it happen. I decided to just like create this from scratch. And I only could do that by being my full self, by being like the self that I knew was true to me. There were lots of opportunities for me to veer over here and follow a path that was already taken or to emulate somebody else. And not only did it not feel good, I knew that wasn't actually going to lead to the kind of success that I was looking for. And I don't just mean like financial success or being on TV a lot. That's great. I actually mean like being able to put my head down at night and feeling like content, fulfilled, knowing that I was born to do this. Like that's a kind of peace and success that I do not take for granted. That is really, really a big part of why I say hooray in the world. And then there's all these different elements that mix into my job. I coach people. I do all sorts of different things that I think on paper don't really make sense, but it's just easy because I'm just kind of following what I love to do. I will also say I showed up to an interview the other day for a big daytime TV show. I can't actually reveal it yet. By the time this conference happens, I will be able to reveal it. And it's the biggest TV show I've ever been on. I've been on a lot of TV, and it's been on my vision board and on my prayer board for years. And I never had to interview to be on a TV show before. They usually just like have a quick conversation with me, or they see my past work on TV and they're like, oh, she's amazing. Let's bring her on. So I was actually kind of like, why, why do I need to audition? And I remember having the temptation to compare myself to whoever might be on, or thinking like, well, what is it that they want? What is it that they want? Maybe I can try to do this or that. And then I thought, you know what? Literally no one is me. No one is me. That is my superpower. So I'm just going to be as me as possible. And I went on with a bright sweater and bold hot pink earrings and big bold lipstick and my big heart, and just was like, here we go, take it or leave it. And they took it. They were so excited. And in fact, I'm actually have been invited back onto the show before the first one even aired. We're already doing
Wow.
the second segment. No. So there's just such a value in getting to know and like yourself. And that takes it's a cultivation. But it's literally the thing that has led to my success. I would say there's lots of things, but that's probably the top thing, is just being like completely myself and
Yeah.
letting that lead the way.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any specific thoughts on equality for women? Obviously, we're doing the event around International Women's Day, and that's a theme that comes up every year. So, do you have, and it's a shame it only comes up once a year, but do you have any specific thoughts on equality for women?
Oh my God, I have so many thoughts. I'm absolutely a feminist. I believe in equality for men and women and all genders, to be fair. And it's such a misunderstood term. And when I lived in New York City, that was a very common thing that everybody was a feminist. Great. When I moved to rural Oklahoma into like the country parts of the USA, that suddenly became a really dirty word. And I think it was associated with a very angry, lesbian feminist who hates men. And I was like, hold on, like that's not what this is about. Like we're talking about equality here. And like, shouldn't you want that too? Especially the women. There were so many women that were like, I'm not a feminist. I don't hate men. And I was like, those aren't the same thing. I think the word is really misunderstood. And I think there will always be, unfortunately, so human of us, that there will always be a group that feeds off of the inequality of other people. And it feels threatening to people when you want to be equal because it makes them have to come down, or they think, right? Instead of just lifting you up, they're like, well, then I guess I have to give up something or I'm going to lose power. And that can be really threatening to certain groups of people, especially if you've held that power so easily and without having to do much for it for millennia. So it's a really tricky thing to work within the system that is set up now, which, especially in the USA, feels a bit tougher right now because we're led by someone who is not a feminist and who is empowering and emblazoning people who feel threatened by equality for genders. Um, so it's hard to work within the current structure that we have and define success within the current culture that we have, and then also meet the needs for your own unique version of success as a woman. We have that like feminine energy and that masculine energy, and masculine energy is so prevalent right now. And women are physically not designed for that love, for that kind of success. Success to us looks different, but yet our whole world defines success by this small box over here when we're like, actually, it'd be better if it was this. So that's really tricky. The other thing I'll say about this is that I remember one of the women in Oklahoma, I wasn't even a very vocal feminist, I thought. I just like minor things that I thought were kind of like, we could all agree on this. And I remember her looking at me very curiously and asking me, why are you the way that you around feminism? And I first I didn't understand her question. I was like, what do you mean, why am I in the way that I am? Kind of to me, I was like, this is so obvious that we have this unequal footing with men. And it's not that obvious to everybody. And when you've been living within a particular culture for so long and told that's the only way and that it's good for you, even when it's not, you will believe it. And just lovingly having this conversation with her about, it was difficult. I grew up with 5 brothers. It was difficult to see them have these opportunities that I did not. And it's difficult to see the world set up for success in a way that does not align with being a woman. It's really hard. So like, that's important to me. And even this morning, I'm gonna be really, really transparent with you. I got into a little tiff with my husband. We made up. It's all good. We're all good now. But I realized in our conversation why I was so angry. And it was because we were sort of comparing equity in our home and who's doing what and what we're both carrying. And I said, now look at that list. And if we looked at true, like we're holding the same amount of stuff, then look at what else I'm carrying or have to get through in order to get to that. Now, I have all sorts of privileges that lots of people don't have, but compared to my husband, he still has a lot more privilege than I do, which means he has less roadblocks along the way. He has to be less savvy to work around things and over things and under things. The world just sort of an open door for him. He has his own issues, his own, inequalities as well. But like in general, the world's just set up for his success. And so on top of that, then add in the physical things that we have to deal with as women. Me personally, things like endometriosis, which is like chronic pain and fatigue condition, let alone all of the like hormone things and changes that are going on with me as a 40-year-old woman who's trying to get pregnant. Like there's just so much physically, emotionally from our culture that's bombarded on me. And then like literally how our world is set up for success that I have to get through just to do that same laundry list of things. It's crazy. And so I got angry. I got really angry this morning about it. It's not his fault. There's not one man who's responsible for this, but I was mad at him and men in general. So
Yeah.
anger part is righteous. And we can't ignore that either. So anyway, I really feel like we are making great strides and that women have more than we ever did before. When you think about our grandmothers and what they had to go through and what they had to do, like I feel like I'm a bird with wings compared to my grandmother who was so grounded in what she had to deal with. And I still feel like there's a lot more for us to do. There's just a lot more work that's left to be done, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, and a rising tide lifts all boats.
100%. We're in this together. And I really feel like women intrinsically, we do know how to work together and lift each other up. It's just tempting to, not for everybody and not really for me. I love being collaborative, but it is tempting to compare and to feel that pressure of like, well, if she's up, then I'm going to be down. Like, no, no, no. That rising tide can lift us all. Like we can truly just like work together on this.
Yeah. So if you want to come and meet Kimmay and work with her at the conference, 7th of March, Fiona Haas, 9 o'clock in the morning. We look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget to book your tickets. Links are at the end of the video. Kimmay, can't wait to see you in Spain. You're coming from America, just in case anybody hadn't picked that up. So
Yes.
really, really
I'll be
excited.
flying in from Philadelphia to Madrid, which I've never been to Spain. So I'm just, I'm thrilled for this whole experience. And actually, I have Spanish heritage, so I'm really excited. And then going down to Malaga just for this conference. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to see everybody. Please come. Please have a great time. Let's lift each other up.
Indeed. See you there.